I'm noticing this trend online, and I'm curious if you see the same, where there's a lot of people going on YouTube and maybe TikTok to share their stories about being laid off or literally being on camera as their employee or employer is telling them that they've been laid off. And those kind of videos are getting a significant amount of traction, so much to the point that some of these YouTubers or content creators are now being featured on mainstream news like CNBC. And I wanted to talk about how that is making me feel in terms of being emotional online and how that can be used to catapult your content creation career. By the way, on this channel, I talk to Black and African women feeling insecure about their status in life. And my goal with my not-for-profit media company that is run through this channel is to ensure that at least 500 women from the African diaspora become financially, physically, and emotionally secure by 2030. If you want to join me in achieving that goal, make sure you hit the subscribe button and don't forget to like this video as well. So I'm bringing this up and I hope that it doesn't come across as shade because that is not my intention. I am not in any way jealous or necessarily have any specific type of feeling towards the content creators who are getting featured and are getting monetized now on their YouTube channel after this one video blows up of them confessing about their layoff situation. But it is concerning to me because when it comes to thinking about Black and African women in this space, because they are the highest number of the population in the US who have been laid off as of January 2025. And they are the ones who are most vulnerable historically, economically in the United States when it comes to job security and financial freedom. I, as a Black and African woman, worry about putting all of my bets and hopes into coming online and expressing such a vulnerable state as being laid off and not knowing where my next meal or paycheck is coming from, hoping that my video will blow up as a result and then consequently turn me into a content creator and starting to build a career that way. There's at least 300,000 Black women who have been laid off as of April 2025. And in my previous reporting on this, I mentioned that more than 500,000 Black women have been either underemployed or unemployed since the start of the pandemic in 2020. So this is a significant amount of people who, again, historically are vulnerable financially and are struggling, because I speak to them every day, figuring out what to do next in this economy where even though they have a bachelor's degree, a master's degree, a PhD, they still cannot secure a high-paying job or a job that fits their credentials. So again, these type of women I'm seeing are coming online either crying, and again, there's no shade about that. I'm sure that they genuinely feel those emotions, those raw emotions when they are sharing their story, or they are on the phone as their employer is telling them that they are being let go from their once secure job. And as a result, those videos are getting so much traction, more traction than any of the videos for some of them that they've ever created in the past. So much so that they are being featured on mainstream news like CNBC. And I was looking at that and I was like, did I miss something? Because for me, I'm very conscious about what I share online. I understand that in this world of social media and influencing culture that everything is supposed to be content. But for me, as much as I'm trying to build a personal brand, I need to feel like there's a level of privacy and a level of security with what people know about me who are complete strangers online. And I feel especially vulnerable as a Black and African woman who is single, who is self-employed. with sharing too many details because you just never know who is watching online. And frankly, everybody is not on your side as a Black and or African woman. So you don't know whose intentions are good and whose intentions are meant to use that information to harm you in one way or the other. So I just think twice, 3 times before I get online and share anything about my life. But again, as I'm seeing the traction that these content creators, these now turned content creators, are getting for making their brand about them being laid off, I wonder again, should I have just been frank and honest about that coming online and starting my YouTube channel? Now, another thing that concerns me about this is that Black women are usually pathologized, I guess is how I want to put it. We are put in this place where we're not meant to be seen as capable, worthy of our position, whether it's professionally or in life personally. And so to me, and feel free to push back in the comments, this whole narrative of coming online and only sharing the harm and the trauma that we go through financially and physically, emotionally as Black women anywhere across the world, and people watching that and helping us monetize our channel that way, it gives me a little bit of trauma porn vibes. It makes me wonder, why is that something that people enjoy consuming from us, even when we've been creating so much other content online and it's produced no traction at all. For example, one of the content creators who I have been following, who was featured recently on CNBC, said that she actually started her channel to talk more about financial literacy and just her journey to paying off certain debts and reaching certain financial milestones. I think that is such a useful and beneficial type of content that is desperately needed, especially in the Black community, especially amongst Black women. And I worry that that kind of content wasn't the thing that made her channel blow up or made her suddenly be someone who needed to be featured in such a well-known platform as CNBC. Why did it take her getting laid off? And again, no shade at all. And I'm so happy that she's finding her way through this whole, journey, because more power to her. We all need that kind of hope. But I just wonder why it took her getting laid off, being emotional about it online, for people to see her, if that makes sense. Why did people only take notice when such a traumatic thing happened to her? Meanwhile, we're out here before then trying to build personal brands, trying to build not-for-profit media companies, trying to build and establish ourselves online through purposeful, meaningful content, and people are pushing that to the side, at least from my perspective. And again, maybe this is me projecting. Feel free to push back in the comments. This is me being vulnerable. This is probably as vulnerable as I'll ever get online, except for my Al Jazeera interview, which you can also see on my channel that I posted recently. But I worry about needing to put that much information about me and my finances and, just the very, very private, vulnerable side of me for people to want to pay attention to me. And maybe this also just goes to some of the things that I've seen online about Black women expressing their lack of community and lack of support around them during these tough times. I'll read a couple. So I found this post on Threads and it says, "I stopped trying to network," and network is in quotation marks, "when I realized community is built from a woman who actually like you, not women who find you useful." And the way that I interpret that is networking is now about how can I use you versus I genuinely care about you and want to see you succeed and see what you've already done. Let me see where I can fill in the gaps. And when I have been reaching out to people since January because of the fluctuations with the journalism space, which is the industry that I'm in, I've led from that. I've led from, hey, this is the position that we're in. And you see just in general, the way society is going in general and how it's attacking journalism specifically. Can you support the strong work that I'm doing to make sure that relevant news stories, relevant investigative reporting continues to happen through my not-for-profit media company? And I thought that that message would land more. And it seems, at least from this post that I read, that it's more about, no, people want to see how they can use you to elevate themselves. Whether it's your general audience or if it's just people in positions of influence and power, I guess, that could platform you and say, okay, share with their audience and say, hey, this is someone that you should support. They're doing this, that, and the third. Make sure you go follow and subscribe. For the latter, I definitely do believe that this post that I read from Threads is referencing that in terms of people making sure that they can still get something from you and that you have something of value to them before they platform you in that way. For the general audience, I don't know what it is, and this is where I'm getting confused or I'm getting concerned about what it takes to make a video pop or blow up on something like YouTube. I don't know if maybe if you're crying online and you're showing that you are down and out and you're miserable, that it makes them feel superior, and that's why they can then say, oh, let's like it, let's share this video, and let's like run the numbers up, because it's making the way that the thing that they are getting from you is a feeling of superiority, like, oh, my life is not as bad as that. And it especially feels icky when you think of it as a Black woman, because whether we like it or not, we are not the majority, and we are definitely not the majority in terms of YouTube subscribers or people who come on the platform to watch videos. So that means that the majority of people who are watching these videos are more than likely going to be, hate to say it, because of what you're probably going to feel when I say this, but they are probably non-Black. We can say it that way. They are most likely a white audience or a more privileged audience. And that makes me feel very icky. That makes me wonder if the desire to watch those type of videos comes from, again, a level of superiority rather than genuinely wanting to help. Because let me just put it this way. And again, I would need to know from these content creators what their truths are. I'm just speculating. But after you watch that video of someone talking about them being laid off, unless you are someone who is also going through that same thing and maybe you just feel like, okay, I'm not alone and there's somebody who I can relate to. If you are not in that position and you are just watching to hear this person's story, what are you doing next after that? Is your goal to say, okay, how can I make sure I help this person get out of their situation? Or is it like, what's the plan? And the reason why I think that there is something to that point is because, and I hate to harp on this one content creator, but in the same content creator who was featured on CNBC, she said she was getting comments that people were thinking that she was making this up, that she was being dramatic for no reason, that she was just doing it to manipulate others. And this is exactly why I don't want to share my personal story or any vulnerable private issues online. Because another post that I really related to on Threads again, and this is from one of my favorite therapists / psychologists online, Nedra. People will pretend to be friends until an opportunity presents itself for them to be your opponent. This is where I will say, yes, my personal trauma may be being projected onto others in this situation, but I have seen too many times in my own personal life that people will say that they are genuinely trying to help you so that you can open up to them and share things that you normally wouldn't share with them, only for them to then use that information against you to harm you. And so if that's happening to me in my private life, I can only imagine how that could be amplified if I were to not practice discernment with what I share online. And so when there's, this evil eye of people who are just watching you but not commenting, just trying to see what you're going to share but not saying anything, just lurking in the background in your social media, and you're lurking in my IG stories, in my Instagram stories, trying to see what's going on in my life, that is something very eerie to me. And I know I'm not the only one who has experienced that. And so this is why I have had pause with coming on a channel like this or coming on any of my platforms and crying on camera about. And trust me, there have been times where I have been bawling out of control about what's the state of the journalism space, of the way that independent media or news media has been attacked by this current administration. So I could come on camera almost every other day with tears to spare. but I just don't know how that serves me. And I don't know how that serves the greater purpose of my not-for-profit, which again is to talk to Black and African women feeling insecure about their status in life. And again, by 2030, making sure that at least 500 of them feel more financially, emotionally, and physically secure. I would rather put my energy and time online, that is, into providing them with helpful information that's going to turn the tide in their lives. And I hope that in the process that people will reciprocate that by supporting my channel, by sharing the content that I create or the reporting that I do, the resources that I put together for other Black and African women who are struggling, to pass that along to others who could benefit from it. That's been my main goal with coming online and on YouTube, not to just be very vulnerable and emotional, I guess. And I don't know if that is a strong Black woman trope issue coming across too, like that we need to present ourselves always as put together and can never show ourselves like being disheveled or down. But I just don't know if I'm at that point right now that I feel safe enough to do that on a platform like YouTube or with any strangers on my social media pages. And also, I don't want to be the center of my not-for-profit. I want to build a not-for-profit that lives on beyond me, that goes on when I am gone. So I don't want it to be predicated on the fact that people care about what's going on with me personally, because we're all going to die. And at the end of the day, when the day ends, I don't want the whole brand to be rooted and grounded in what people think about me personally. There's no deep analysis. There's no bell hooks quotes. Maybe some of you are glad that I finally did not talk about bell hooks in this video. There's just more so a curiosity, and I'm putting this out there to test the waters and see how people respond. So if you are subscribed and you see this video and you can relate or want to share your feedback about why you think that maybe you personally are into watching those types of videos where people are sharing their personal stories about their their situation in this current job market, please leave your comments below and tell me. I really, really could use your feedback about what do you want to see from content creators? Do you want to see more of their vulnerable side? Do you want to see them talking about the downs and outs that they go through in their personal lives? Or do you just care more about helpful, useful information that can put to use in your personal life? And do you feel that this channel or the channels that you do watch are providing you with that helpful, grounded information, the practical knowledge that you can use to elevate and improve whatever you're feeling insecure about? That is it. I hope that if you appreciate this video, that you will hit the like button and that you also subscribe. And let me know in the comments below if there was something that you find very useful and helpful in terms of elevating your status in life, getting over your insecurities. What kind of content would that be and why? I would really want to support you in 2026 with making sure that happens. Thank you again for watching. The Leading Like a Lady podcast was created to remind Black women, young and old, that acting like a lady is exactly what the world needs in leadership. Don't forget to subscribe to the blog so that you receive updates on when we post directly to your email.